Welcome to Of Sound Mind and Spirit. I'm Shelly.
And I'm Lisa. We're sisters walking together on a journey of faith. We're not perfect.
And we definitely don't have all the answers. We're inviting you to walk with us as we explore ways we can better know and grow in our faith together.
Welcome back to another episode from Of Sound Mind and Spirit. Hi, Shelly.
Hello, Lisa.
So you just got back from something terribly exciting, and you teased it last week at the very end where you said, I have so much going on. I've got this project I can't talk about. You finished that project. You got back into town. So do you want to tell us what it was?
Yeah, sure. So about a week and a half ago, or 2 weeks ago, we got invited to the press junket and the premiere for The Chosen Season 5. And it's an opportunity to represent Catholic Mom. So naturally, I'm doing lots of things for Catholic Mom. And if you followed Of Sound Mind and Spirit on Instagram, you saw stories and reels that I've been trying to post. I do wish you'd been there for that, Lisa, because you are like queen of getting stuff on the internet. And I am sitting there for an hour going, oh, shoot, I put this in the wrong account. I got to switch it.
So you got to walk the red/teal carpet, or you get to stand while the stars of The Chosen walk the carpet, and you held a microphone and you got to ask questions. And you got to see the season 5 premiere, which comes out when?
March 28th. That's Friday. Episodes 1 and 2. Yeah. So I have seen a streaming. In theaters, yes.
In theaters.
So if you're a Chosen fan, season 5 will come out in 3 parts. Episodes 1 and 2 come out on March 28th. Episodes 3 through 5 come out on April 4th, and the last 3 episodes come out on April 11th in theaters.
In theaters. And eventually it'll come out on Amazon Prime.
That's my understanding is it'll come out on Amazon in the summer, either June or July. I don't have an exact date for that.
So this sets you up to really, if you're a Chosen, stay tuned. If you're not into The Chosen, don't leave us. But if you are into The Chosen,
okay.
no. If you are into The Chosen, this sets up a great end of Lent entry into Holy Week and Easter, right? For them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Go ahead.
I would say, and if you're not into The Chosen, or you're not yet, or you've tried it and you don't understand what all the hype is about, you can hang out with me a little bit, because I'll admit I've only seen the first 2 seasons of The Chosen, and I did enjoy them, but I am not a fangirl. Sorry, but I want to be. Like, I really did enjoy it. I don't know why I stopped watching it. It was one of those things that it kind of fell off my radar. And now with all of this hype, I'm like, I got to get back, because as you and I talk about this, I'm like, oh yeah, I really did like that. Why did I stop watching it?
I think it's normal to have a show that you watch sometimes and then it falls off and you get distracted by other things going on. Maybe your family wanted another new show and it just kind of took precedence, or you've had a pretty busy year, Lisa. I mean.
Yeah. And then every time it comes out of the theater, I'm like, oh yeah, but I'm not caught up. So I got to go watch it. So if you're not on, if you're a huge Chosen fan, stick with us. And if you're not yet, stick with us, because we're going to talk about why, what do we like about it? Why watch it? What does it have? Why is it getting this huge reception? I mean, it's become, I would say, kind of I don't want to say cult following. That sounds weird to say about a show about the Gospels. But
they've had over 250 million viewers, and they have more than 17 million social media followers.
It's crazy.
Isn't that incredible? They're going to hit 1 billion views probably this year. Maybe next.
It's a lot for a show that is not put out by a major network, in my opinion.
Crowd-funded.
Yeah.
It's 100% crowd-funded. Isn't that amazing?
Crazy. Yeah. So I guess my first question to you is, why did you start watching it? Like, what I don't even remember when it came out. Why did, like, how did it get your attention? Why did you watch it?
You're going to laugh. It came out April 21st, 2019. And
Wow.
I don't even remember there being any talk about it, to be honest. I don't know where it was. I know that during COVID in 2020, that my husband was watching it, and he watched the whole first season, and he was on fire. Like, you have to watch this. You have to watch this. And I sat down and I tried to watch episode 1, and I could not get past the possession scene. I was like, I don't know what you think this is. This is not a Jesus show. I don't want to watch this. But here's what I'll tell you. I eventually did come back to it. And when I tell people, when they say, I've never watched The Chosen, what should I watch? I always say, you have to watch the first 2 episodes together. So plan to watch both episodes. Because if you just start with one, it's not a spoiler, okay? He meets Mary Magdalene. So the very first character we kind of meet are Peter and Andrew and James and John, but it's Mary Magdalene. And we all know she was possessed before, and that Jesus heals her. And that's episode 1. And so when you kind of know it, you're a little more like receptive to going through that journey. But I always tell people, don't stop, because you're going to feel like, but you push through and watch the second episode at the same time. And I promise, if you're not like kind of hooked to keep watching, then I guess go on your merry way and enjoy your other shows.
So I guess we should back up for those who don't know what The Chosen is. We didn't say. The Chosen is a serial TV show. We'll call it TV show streaming that is based on the Gospels.
It's a historical drama based on the life of Jesus as seen through the eyes of his followers, his disciples and apostles. So those who follow him.
It's like you went on a press junket with them or something.
I know.
You know the answer to that. That was very nice.
It helps when you have a media tip sheet like right here.
Oh, there you go. There you
and
go.
I've read it a few times.
I will say, watching you, I'm just going to jump into what you did last week real fast. Watching you through seeing you in your own social that you put on Sound Mind and Spirit and your personal one, and then also seeing you pop up in other people's social, because a lot of people I follow were there, so I could see in the background of things, and it was so cool watching you.
Saw me in the background.
Yeah, well, and there were some group pictures, and just to see you doing your thing, it was kind of cool to see, like the first, going into a room and sitting and getting to interview all of these the stars of the show and all that. So that's kind of cool. But we'll get to that in a minute. So. When the show first came out, I don't remember when it first came out, but it has attracted a lot of debate, we'll call it. And I think that anytime you make a show or a movie about something something with such a dedicated following as the Bible, something that theologians study and study and study, and everyone has their own kind of heartfelt response to. Whenever you make a movie or TV show about it, you're going to get some pushback. And it's going to not meet up to certain people's standards. And I guess my question here is, what is your response to some of the pushback that it doesn't depict Jesus correctly, or all those things? It's not Catholic enough. It's not Protestant enough. It's not whatever enough.
Well, the show is created and envisioned by Dallas Jenkins, and his father is a storyteller. He wrote the Left Behind series. And then now Dallas, I know he has other things under his belt as credits, but I don't know what they are. I only know him through The Chosen. Well, okay. And a couple of his other things, like the what is it? The Best Christmas Pageant Ever. That was an amazing show. Go watch that one. Get that one too. I loved that episode. I love that movie. It's a movie. I will say that he puts quite a lot of effort into getting it as keeping in mind, this is also in some parts a historical fiction, because he's writing from scripture, right? And he's actually has the actors reciting scripture. not reciting, but portraying scripture. But at the same time, we know that not everything is in the Bible. I think it was John that said, and there were so many other things that I could write this forever. And this is just as an example. It's just a sample of what happened. So yes, we have to put a little creativity into writing. They, not we, but they have to put a little creativity into writing the life of Jesus and making him come alive. So that when you read something simple in the gospel of a profound moment, sometimes it's hard to envision it, to like really put yourself in that place. And so people don't have a strong connection to who this is. But what I love about The Chosen is that they do invent a world. They create the world around him. And you get the context of, well, what did it mean to be a Jew in first century Judea during a Roman occupation?
Right.
What is it? I mean, there's a scene in one of the earlier seasons where they walk into Jerusalem and there are crucified men outside and they look up at them. And can you imagine Christ looking at and knowing, we know he knows what's coming, but the others don't, so there's expressions and he just makes Jesus a human being.
I was going to say that's right. That's actually what I have really enjoyed about watching the show is that these are stories. I mean, you know the Gospels. I mean, maybe not. I'm going to admit I don't know them word for word. So sorry, but you've heard them, you've read them. It's. But what I love is that it I don't say it puts it in context, but like you said, it builds the world around him, and you see it, and in. Like you've heard all your life about what does it mean to be a tax collector, but to see the way Matthew is treated, the way that he lives, all of that, it just, I don't know. It really helps you understand it in a deeper level for me. And the same thing with seeing, watching Jesus approach people, the way he loves and cares and really sees and respects each individual. Things like that. It was, I don't know. I think that we talked last week about being storytellers and that I think the way that they've crafted this, they've tried really hard to be ecumenical, which is a big old word meaning bringing the faiths together. So they're taking it from, they have a rabbi who's helped them with it. They have, I don't know if it's Catholic theologians or if it's a bishop or priest, I'm not sure who. And they have, Protestant and non-denominational Christians who all come together and, look it over and kind of help them navigate this because they want Jesus to speak to as many people as possible. And they want to also at the same time honor the Jewish roots that they're portraying.
Yeah. And what's interesting about that, if you watch old episodes and you go to the Chosen app on like Roku or your phone, you can actually watch the roundtables. And that's where these men of faith get together and they talk about different aspects. And so you can go even deeper. Like if you just want to watch a show and kind of enjoy it, that's fine. But if you really want to dive deep, you can watch these roundtables that they've put out. I will tell you, Lisa, that the first time that we watched it, Brian watched it, then I watched it, then we got the kids together. It brought us back to the couch together. I mean, and beyond that, Catholic mom always says the family that prays together stays together.
That's right. Well,
more people watch TV than pray together. They watch TV together than pray together. So it brought us all to the couch and we sat and we scheduled, okay, you know how you do it. Every night after dinner, you kind of sit down and watch your show. Well, that's what we did. And we binged Jesus, 2 episodes. We usually kept it to 2 episodes a night.
Yeah.
But after each episode, we'd pause it and we'd actually pull the Bible and we'd say, this is a scene from here. What did it really truly say? You know, when Peter falls to his knees and says, depart from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. When he first believes that this is the Messiah, not the Christ maybe, but the Messiah. We ran scrambling to see, what part of it was written and what part of it was imagined.
Right. I would say I did the same thing when it's the episodes that I've seen, and it takes you back, and you're like, "What? Did that happen? was that in the Bible? And surprisingly enough, like the one scene that I'm thinking of, it was just not something that I'd ever really, like, there's so much to pay attention to. It just, like, one sentence that I hadn't really internalized or thought about or prayed about. And then, but seeing it on the screen made you, think about it in a whole new way and pay attention to. So that's what I like about it, is that, I feel like when you hear scripture, read scripture, you tend to, I don't know if it's your brain or what, but you just like, oh, okay, I know this, blah, blah, blah. But then when you see it portrayed, it makes you go think, okay, wait, was that it or not? And surprisingly enough, most of the times I've gone and looked it up, it's been in the Bible.
So I'll give you the
it.
flip side to that. How many times, well, maybe you haven't done it yet, but I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Mass and the readings of the day, the gospel readings of that day, are something I have seen portrayed in The Chosen. And so I'm listening, and it's coming to life. And it's not just coming to life, it's giving me all the emotional feels again. And so I'm connecting with the gospel in church, in prayer, in a way that I hadn't before. I mean, was it St. Ignatius that was, is that Ignatian spirituality? You put yourself into the scene mentally. Right. So this is another, that's how I see this. It's another tool. And like every other tool, I don't believe every single thing but could it have been true? Could it be, like that? We know Peter was married. Well, there's his wife is in the episodes, and she has a role, and Jesus sees her. So there's women that you don't always think about in the Gospels, but in the show, there are women following Jesus, and he gives them names, and he gives them personalities, and he gives them a backstory that complements, with an E, it helps you connect and identify. And then there are other things that happen, but it kind of brings us along for the ride. And that's what I really love about it.
I have a friend who just the other night, she did not know we were going to do this today. And she mentioned that she does not watch much TV. She's not a TV girl. But she mentioned out of the blue, she's like, I've really started watching The Chosen, and I am just hooked on this. And I never watched TV. And now I'm watching it like every night, for the first time. And one of the things she said about it was, it opened her eyes to how women in the Bible, and how Jesus treated them all, respectfully, equally. He, interacted the way with Mary Magdalene, with Mary, just watching that being portrayed on screen. She said it, the woman at the well, just seeing it, it never had hit her like that before. And this is somebody who, faithful, goes to church every Sunday, that kind of thing. And she's just like, wow, I'm so excited to watch this. It helps me just think deeper about the scriptures. So,
and we have to remember too, that what he was doing by allowing women to follow him and by treating them in that manner, that was radical for that period. That was not common. And all of the times where he shows grace and he shows mercy and he asks questions, he doesn't just teach them. Remember, he teaches them in parables. He's trying to make them think and understand. And you see Jesus through all the human emotions. He's divine. And you see that too through the miracles and through the way he presents himself. But he also gets a little impatient. He gets a little frustrated.
The human
in
side.
Season 5, you're going to see him get downright angry. So,
okay. I will say
it's in the trailers. It's not that much of a teaser.
I actually haven't seen the trailer yet. So I have to say I like the way, at least the first couple seasons, seeing the disciples being very human and the way that they interact as a group. Because I guess being a child of the 70s, felt banners and kumbaya and whatever, you just like, oh, the little merry band of disciples, and they all love each other and they're all sweet. And you know what I mean? And that's not human behavior. And I don't know. the same way I view saints, like we were always taught like everybody was perfect and good and amazing. And it's like, that seems unattainable to me. God did not make me perfect. Sorry, honey. My spouse, honey, not you. But
my husband could have told you that about me.
Yeah. Oh, mine knows. So I like seeing them depicted as actual human beings, and because I think it speaks to us that, oh yeah, we're called, we're all called to be disciples. We are all called to get up and follow Jesus, just like he calls each of them. And I think seeing them as human and the bickering or the, relationships that they have with each other, I think that makes it helps you see yourself like, oh yeah, okay, I could do this.
Yeah. Yeah. And it gives you backstory too, to understand conflict.
Yes. True.
Yes. Yes. And I'm going to spoil it for you, because there's something that happens in season four that's amazing. and just, it really made me cry. And it happens in season 4, episode 2. And there is, maybe I won't spoil it all the way. There's a reconciliation and a forgiveness between two characters, two disciples who have every reason to dislike each other. But after these months, weeks, years, I can't get a sense exactly how much time has passed on it. But after following him and hearing the lessons and seeing the miracles and understanding God's love for each other, they each go to him and say, why has the other one not forgiven me? Why has this person not forgiven me? How do I reconcile? You've just preached, the gospel or the scripture about forgiving your brother, not 7 times, but 70 times. And they each approach him, and what he says back to them to make them think. He doesn't give them the answer. He's like, Dad, he asked that question. And you're like, oh God, I knew the answer to that. Dang it. And it culminates in the most emotionally beautiful moment. And so if you've seen season 4, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that hug at the end, you're just like, just sobbing.
I love that. I'm not there yet, but I will. I will. And I'll give a shout out that you can watch The Chosen on Amazon Prime. Seasons 1 through 4 are out right now, and you can watch it all. That's where we have watched it. We started out on an app, but now it's on Amazon Prime. Or for right now, you never know how things stay or go these days. Okay, so I'm trying to think of another question. One of the things that I have noticed is that it's really a tool for, I'll use the big word, evangelization, helping people, we'll say bridging for people who maybe don't know the gospel, or they keep Jesus or God at arm's length and maybe don't have a hard time having a relationship with him, or don't understand his love. And I know that it's being used in churches all over, I was going to say the country, I'm assuming outside of the U.S., as ways to have that discussion and interaction about. You're smiling. You're like, quit talking so I can talk. I have something to say.
I was just going to tell you that they're actively, Come and See Foundation is actively translating it into, I can't even remember how many thousands of languages, but they are actively translating it. And one of the things I overheard,
translating the
show, all of it into, they talked about doing it with subtitles, and the problem is it's going out into countries where not everyone can read. So subtitles don't work. So it's got to be translated and dubbed in a language that they can listen and understand.
I love that they thought through that so they can reach as many people as possible. That's amazing. I love that. Yeah. So I know that a lot of churches are using it, and there's I can't think of the press right now but I know that there are all kinds of kind of workbooks or books or study guide you
Bible
can use to
studies.
accompany yourself. Yeah. So you can walk with a group. Maybe you have a small group of friends or your family or a group at a parish or a church that you can watch and then discuss and engage each episode and what that means and where is it in scripture. And I like that it's going that one step further rather than just being, hey, there's this cool TV show we're all going to sit on the couch and watch. But now what does that mean for me? What does that mean in my life? What does Jesus want to do in my life? How is knowing him and having this relationship going to change me? And then once I'm changed, what do I do about it? And I feel like that's what they do so well.
Yeah.
You watch the woman at the well get up and go and run into town and like,
that's what we said last week.
Her lungs, and like all of the things like, oh my gosh. And then if you go to the Bible, it says that people came to believe based on her testimony. And that was actually one of the things I had to go look up because I didn't remember that. But the way they portrayed it was so powerful. And then you resonate and you say, I believe, and Jesus has changed me. Do I do that? Do I go out and, just filled with
Tell
joy?
everyone.
And yeah, I mean, I guess we kind of do. We're on a podcast, but like,
well, it's kind of like we talked about last week, that's why we're podcasting and that's why we write. And we're trying to tell everyone the story of what he's done in our life and is still doing because we're not perfect. We don't have all the answers, but we are on this journey, right? We continue to know and grow in our faith. There, I got it in.
Yay.
But I wanted to tell you, Lisa, I don't know if this is on your list, that it just popped in my head that there is a very Catholic moment in, I think it's season 2. And that is, you should have seen this one. And that's the episode where Mary Magdalene kind of, she's confronted. That's where she's confronted with the demons of her past and it's addictions. And she falls astray. She walks away from him. And he sends the disciples out to get her. He sends them to bring her back, go find her. And when she comes back, she's ashamed and she's just completely embarrassed. And she just doesn't know how could he ever love her because she had been healed and she was broken again. She did it. She allowed it she allowed herself to follow into those addictions again. And now she's being brought back and she just doesn't know how to face him. I mean, how many of us have experienced that where we've been healed and we go in sin and we're so, oh my gosh, how did I do this again? How can I ever go back to church? How can I ever really, truly face? And when they bring her back into the camp, it is Mother Mary who does what Mary always does. She doesn't say a word. She simply puts her arm around her, pulls her veil back over her head, and puts an arm and guides her to Jesus. And I don't think Mary says a word until after Mary Magdalene says, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. And he says, I forgive you. I love you. You are mine. And I mean, we're all a mess of tears because we know what this is. We know this is like the most Catholic moment because of Mary. And I think we're going to see
Mary always leads us to Jesus. She always pushes us and points us to him. And I have seen that episode and I love that. And I think that watching that one, I don't know, it's just so real, especially for people who feel the brokenness and feel shame and upset at sin or have turned their backs on Christ, that to see that scene and have them come back and to see Jesus say, it just reminds you of reconciliation, going to confession and hearing that priest say, you're forgiven, you're absolved of your sin. But it's a visual way of seeing that. And
and see, that's not anywhere in any gospel. And so people might, well, that's not real. That's not, right. But he's giving you the context to understand that these are real people and that this could have happened. And maybe it did, maybe it didn't, but we'll never know. But it helps us to establish that emotional, personal connection to Christ, not to TV show, to Christ And I love that Dallas does that. And the writers and all of the cast, just amazing way of being able to portray that. It's such a well done show. So.
Right. And that's what I was going to say about the critics. I have read, online and yeah. And my thought is with almost anything you can, if you really want to dive in and analyze and tear things apart, you absolutely can.
But to what purpose? To what end?
Exactly. If take it for what it is. This is not a substitute for reading scripture. This is not a substitute for going to church. This is not a substitute for having that, knowing God and that, making that relationship with Christ through prayer and worship. It's not a substitute. It's a tool.
Motivation.
It's something to help you.
Yeah.
It's something to help you. And some people are motivated, are helped by seeing the visual. I greatly am, and so it's take it for what it is, and then if you love it, and if you don't, that's fine. Move on.
Yeah. No skin off my nose. But I'm going to talk about it. I mean, I'm going to talk about it because it has helped me to visualize that relationship more differently. Yeah. So
okay,
do you want to teaser about season 5?
Yes, I was going to say, give us something about season 5, and then I want to hear some teasers about meeting the cast and Dallas Jenkins.
Okay.
So
season 5
first.
you're definitely going to watch because it's Holy Week. So when we leave season 4,
okay.
Yes, and it's not a spoiler, guys. Go.
Wait,
go
what happens during
up.
Holy Week? No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know, but I'll tell you when I watched I got the pre-streaming link, so I have seen the episode, and you're going to laugh at me because as soon as I find this, I will tell you. I went through that morning after, and I read, and of course now I can't find it in my journal because I'm looking for it. I read. And I wrote episodes 1 and 2, we saw and heard. I wrote down everything in the scripture, every piece that we found. We heard Luke 19:36. We heard 36 through 44. Through 46, my apologies. John 12, John 16, Matthew 21, and parts of Matthew 23 and 26, and Mark 14. So if you really want to know in advance, you can hit the pause button, go look all those up, because I read them pretty fast. But it is Palm Sunday. And Lazarus has been risen. That's the big moment in season 4. He is on the outside of Jerusalem and he's coming in. And if you read these scriptures, it's all in here. The Pharisees coming out to meet him. But the Pharisees serve another purpose. They also serve to give us context. Mm-hmm. What does it mean that he's coming in on this donkey? Why is that significant? Mm-hmm. What does it mean that he's entering through a specific gate that he's entering? Mm. And he says it. And if you know your scripture, you know exactly what, I mean, as soon as they say it, you're like, oh, that's that gate. I recognize that word. I know what this means. And then there's scenes in there. And then episode 2 is and this is in the teaser, so this is not a spoiler. It's the flipping of the tables. It's him going into Jerusalem and seeing the temples turned into a marketplace. Well, we hear that all the time, but we don't always know the laws of the Old Testament. As Christians, we probably don't study the laws of the Old Testament and what it means that you have to make this kind of sacrifice offering and that kind of sacrifice offering and what kind of money you can and cannot use. But he brings that whole scene to life and we're in it. And we start to see him get more and more emotional. Mm-hmm. And then it says Jesus fashioned a whip out of cords, and he starts flipping over table. Well, that's in this first part, and you don't want to miss it because it's intense. It's they're really setting up the political structure too. Why Caiaphas? Why Pilate? Why Herod? How do these 3 entities really exist? What's their connection? Mm-hmm. Rome, the Jewish, the Pharisees, and all of that is explained through these conversations and how things are being discussed. And that I didn't know. So that to me is really fascinating. But I will tease you too. that each episodes, the first two, each begin with a scene at the Last Supper. And I hope that's something they carry through. So you go and you read your Last Supper scripture, and it puts you there. And so it starts right there, just tearing at your heart because you know what he's saying. The disciples don't. Going into Palm Sunday, we know what's going to happen in 4 days. They don't. And so it's really powerful to watch.
That's awesome. Okay. Now give us a little bit about what it was like to, I would say, interview. You got to interview many of these people, these actors and people related to creating the show. And I know you have some articles coming out and things. So we don't tell us everything. So you want people to go listen to you have audio with the questions and video, and you have articles. So don't give everything away. But
I can't give away a lot of the content yet because I'm still creating it. But I will tell you a little bit. When I've never been on a press junket before, and I think I mentioned this to you. I'm like, the only thing I have to kind of know what it might be like is Notting Hill, the movie where Hugh Grant and it's very similar. They shepherd you into a room and you sit down and you have a conversation with them. The difference is, for him, it was a movie. They're just sitting there and he's, but for us, it's in a hotel. And so you wait in the hospitality room and you get to meet other members of the press. And so I met a lot of others from Catholic Press, and they're just wonderful people. And like anything else we do, Lisa, we've talked about this so many times, like SQPN and Catholic Mom Retreat. Everybody's so kind and generous. And there's not any sense of competition, or you just kind of come together because you're all there for the same reason. And that's Jesus. Or Jonathan Rumi. I don't know. He's not Jesus. Remember, he's an actor. But then they call you in and you go into these hotel rooms, like conference rooms, like the small breakout rooms. And they're all set up, like equipment everywhere. And so you've got 4 minutes. You walk in, you say hello, you introduce yourself, you sit in the chair, the mic is hanging on top, the cameras are at an angle, there's lights. I don't like the way I look. I saw that. I was like, oh my gosh, I look every bit of my age. But so you've got 4 minutes to ask as many questions as you can get in. And I had 2 or 3 questions. They all relate to Catholic mom and being a Catholic mom. What I would think the readers there would want to know about them. It kind of got intimidated. They weren't expecting such personal questions.
Well, but you stood out.
I asked, and some answered well, and some chose not to, or chose to go about a different way, which I completely respect and understand. So I saw Dallas Jenkins first.
When you say personal questions, you were asking about their faith life, right? I mean,
yes,
things like
I'm
that.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I will tell you my question. My number one question was, because I was representing Catholic Mom, I asked how their faith was, how their parents influenced their faith life growing up. Like, how did their parents, and I meant faith, not religion, but faith, instill values, instill. And we'll probably do another episode, a podcast, Lisa, because I've got their answers in audio and we'll be able to play it and share it. But I met Dallas Jenkins first. Fabulous guy. I mean, just top notch. So brought a real commanding presence into the room. I met the actor who plays Matthew and the actress who plays Mary Magdalene II, Paras Patel and Elizabeth Tavish. And they were just, oh my gosh, they were adorable together. They really seemed to rely on each other and shared an emotional friendship there. There was a moment when Paras was very concerned for her. Like, she was watching out for her. And I thought, oh, he's so nurturing, like my husband is sometimes. And then I went and saw Jonathan Rumi, and he's others use the word low energy, but I mean, I don't even understand how they would have the energy to do this press thing and all of this that they're having to do. They can't be getting much sleep at night. And in the meantime, he's also preparing himself to start filming season 6. And we know season 6 is going to be the Triduum. So there's that sense of weight of he knows what's coming. He knows what he's representing. And as an actor, he's very guarded is not the word, but he's there, he's present. And then I went into a room with the actors who played John and Andrew and Peter. And I know they're in their mid-30s, but they were just like, teenage boys, like a bunch of college kids, like they were just rocking and rolling, and they fed off each other, and they were amazing. So there'll be more to come. That's just a teaser. So
that's great. Well, so our listeners can go head over to Of Sound Mind and Spirit on Instagram and check out the various things that you posted. There's a couple of reels. There's some stories. I think we've got a highlight there. So just to see you in action and to see them and other Catholic media that were at the premiere. Okay, we have to wrap this up. I guess as you, someone who's been a longtime devotee to The Chosen, and from me, who has seen some of it and wants to watch the rest of it, but just hasn't made the effort yet, and I need to, and I will. I want to encourage our listeners to check it out if you haven't, and let us know, where do you fall on this? Do you love it? It's like, meh? Has it impacted your faith life? I think that's the biggest question is, did you watch it and it changed the way you felt or thought about the Gospels, or made you like run to the Bible and look things up, or turn to God, fall on your knees and ask him for forgiveness, like Mary Magdalene in that scene you were talking about, Shelly?
Mm-hmm. All of the above. So, okay. Well, Lisa, I will tell you this. You've got from now until the summer to catch up, and then you can start watching season 5 on streaming. But me and mine, we're going to be in the theaters. And we're going to invite all of our family to come with us. I mean, you're invited, but you're not caught up yet. Yeah. But family and friends. I mean, really, it is an opportunity to get together in community and bring people with you. So don't go see it alone. Go with your church family. Go with your personal family.
All right. Thanks for being here. We will see you next week. And I'm going to make a little plug to share the podcast with a friend or family. Help us spread the message. And if you have a moment, go over to wherever you're listening to this, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and click subscribe. Hit the subscribe button. But also, if you wouldn't mind leaving us a review, that would be amazing. All right. We will see you next week. Thanks, Shelly.
You're welcome. Bye, everybody.